The alien ship came down through the clouds on a Tuesday morning. It was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. The metal surface was dark and covered with strange patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them. Staff Sergeant Danny Cole stood at the edge of the military base, watching it land. His rifle hung across his chest, but he knew it would be useless against something like this. Around him, 100 Marines stood in formation. They were the best soldiers America had, trained to fight any enemy. But none of them had trained for this. None of them had ever imagined that aliens were real. The ship touched down without a sound. A ramp lowered from its belly, and the first aliens walked out into the California sunlight. Danny had expected monsters. What he saw was somehow worse. The Kelthari were tall, almost 8 feet, with scales covering their bodies like armor. They had 4 eyes that glowed golden in the light. They moved like hunters, smooth and dangerous, always watching everything around them. Their leader walked at the front. His name was Commander Vorath, and he wore a red crest on his head that showed his rank. He looked at the humans the way a man might look at insects. Politicians and generals rushed forward to greet the aliens. They smiled and nodded and tried to look friendly. Danny stayed at his post and watched. He had seen powerful people before. He had seen them in Afghanistan and Iraq, warlords who thought they were gods. He had seen them fall. Vorath spoke through a device that translated his words into English. His voice was cold and flat. The Kelthari Dominion greets the people of Earth. We have watched your world for many years. We have decided to offer you a place in our empire. You will serve us. You will obey us. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy. The politicians kept smiling. They did not understand what they were hearing. But Danny understood. He had heard that tone before, in the voices of men who thought their guns made them kings. Colonel Patricia Reyes walked over to Danny's position. She was a tough woman who had survived 3 combat tours. Her eyes were sharp as she watched the aliens. What do you think of them, Staff Sergeant? She asked quietly. Danny thought about the question. He watched how the Kelthari moved, how they flinched at sudden noises, how their hands stayed close to their weapons. They were soldiers, that was clear. But there was something else there too. They're scared, ma'am, Danny said. They just do not know it yet. Reyes raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She had learned to trust Danny's gut feelings over the years. The negotiations started that afternoon in a big hangar that had been set up with tables and chairs. The Kelthari sat on one side, their huge bodies making the furniture look like toys. The humans sat on the other side, a mix of politicians, scientists, and military officers. Danny stood against the wall with other Marines. He was supposed to be invisible, just part of the security. But he noticed Commander Vorath looking at him again and again. Your species is young, Vorath said. You have barely left your own planet. The Kelthari Dominion has existed for 12,000 years. We have conquered 300 worlds. We have technology you cannot imagine. The politicians nodded like eager students. The scientists leaned forward, hungry for knowledge. But the military officers stayed quiet. Their faces showed nothing, but Danny could see the tension in their shoulders. We require your obedience, Vorath continued. Your world become part of the Dominion. Your people will work for us. Your resources will fuel our ships. In exchange, you will have our protection. Secretary of State Howard Price leaned forward with a big smile. I am sure we can find an arrangement that benefits everyone, he said. Perhaps we could discuss the details? Danny felt sick. He had seen this before too. Village elders in Afghanistan, thinking that if they cooperated with the enemy, they would be safe. It never worked that way. The talks went on for 3 days. The Kelthari demands got worse and worse. They wanted samples of every living thing on Earth. They wanted control of all nuclear weapons. They wanted the right to take human soldiers for their wars. And the politicians were actually thinking about saying yes. On the fourth day, Danny was assigned to guard the Kellery quarters. He stood outside Voreth's door for 6 hours before the alien came out. The commander stopped when he saw Danny. Those 4 golden eyes studied him with new interest. "You are the one who watches," Voreth said. "I have noticed you. You do not smile like the others. You do not bow your head. You just watch, like you are planning something." Danny said nothing. He was not supposed to talk to the aliens. "Let me give you advice, little human," Voreth continued. "Whatever you are thinking, forget it. The Kelthari have destroyed civilizations far greater than yours. We have weapons that could turn your whole planet to dust. Fighting us is not just foolish. It is suicide." Danny looked into those golden eyes. He thought about all the people who had told him to give up over the years. Drill instructors who said he would never make it. Enemies who said he would never survive. He was still here. They were not. Slowly, Danny's smile thought it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who had walked through hell and come out the other side. It was the smile of a man who had buried friends and killed enemies and was still standing. Voreth took a step backward. For the first time since landing on Earth, the alien looked uncertain. "You should bow," Voreth said. His voice had lost some of its confidence. "When a superior being stands before you, you should bow." Danny's smile grew wider. "I do not bow." They stood there for a long moment, the alien and the human, hunter and prey. But in that moment, it was not clear which was which. Then Voreth turned and walked away. His steps were faster than before, almost like he was running. Danny watched him go, still smiling. The alien had come to Earth thinking humans were weak, thinking they would be easy to control, thinking they would simply accept their place at the bottom. He was wrong. Danny Cole was a United States Marine. He had fought in deserts and mountains against enemies who wanted him dead. He had lost friends and taken lives and done things that still kept him awake at night. But he had never surrendered. He had never given up. And he was not about to start now. As Voreth disappeared around a corner, Danny began to plan. The Kelthari thought they had already won. They thought Earth would just roll over and accept defeat. They had no idea what was coming. The story of Danny Cole and Commander Voreth spread through the military base like wildfire. Soldiers whispered about the Marine who had made an alien commander back away. The tale grew bigger with each telling. By the end of the week, everyone had heard some version of it, but Danny was not thinking about stories. He was thinking about war. Colonel Reyes called him to her office on the 7th day. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes and wrinkles in her uniform. The stress was breaking her down. "Close the door," she said. "Sit down." Danny sat. He had known Patricia Reyes for 8 years. He had never seen her look so defeated. "The president is going to sign the treaty," she said. "Tomorrow morning, Earth is going to become a protectorate of the Kelthari Dominion." Danny nodded. He had expected this. "There's more," Reyes continued. "Part of the deal involves our military. They want to use human soldiers in their wars. Apparently, they have been watching us for decades. They have seen how we fight. They like what they see. They want cannon fodder," Danny said. "Yes, the Kelthari hate ground combat. They prefer bombing from space, quick strikes with no risk to their own people. But sometimes they need boots on the ground. That is where we come in." "And the politicians agreed?" Reyes shrugged. "The Kelthari showed them what their weapons can do. Simulations of cities being destroyed in seconds. The politicians think they are saving humanity by surrendering. Maybe they are right. I do not know anymore." Danny sat quiet for a moment. Through the window, he could see the alien ship shining in the sun. It was a reminder of how small Earth really was. "What do you want me to do, ma'am?" he asked. Reyes looked him in the eyes. "I want you to be ready. I do not know for what or when, but something is going to happen. I can feel it. And when it does, I want people I can trust standing with me." Danny understood. It was the same feeling he had before an ambush in Afghanistan. The calm before everything went wrong. "I will be ready," he said. The treaty was signed the next morning at the White House. The whole world watched as President Catherine Walsh wrote her name on the document. The Kelthari stood behind her like giants, their shadows falling across the lawn. Commander Varth gave a speech about a new era of peace and progress. He talked about the benefits of joining the Dominion. He did not mention that humans would be used as soldiers. He did not mention that Earth's resources now belong to the aliens. Danny watched from a security post near the fence. Private First Class Maria Santos stood next to him. She was young, only 2 years in the Marines, and her face was pale. "Is it true, Staff Sergeant?" she asked quietly. "About us becoming soldiers for him?" Danny nodded. There was no point in lying. "What are we going to do?" Danny looked at her. She was just a kid who had joined up to serve her country. Now she was being sold to an alien empire. "We are going to do what Marines always do," he said. "We are going to adapt and overcome." The first Kelthari ground troops arrived 3 weeks later. They built bases all over the planet and started changing everything. Human military units were reorganized under alien command. New rules were put in place. Anyone who resisted was punished. Danny was sent to a training facility in Nevada. Human soldiers were being taught to fight alongside the Kelthari. His commander was Subcommander Kravith, an alien who looked at humans like they were dirt. "You are smaller than I expected," Kravith said during their first meeting. "Slower, weaker. I do not understand why the Dominion wants you." Danny stayed quiet. He had learned that silence was the best answer to alien insults. "But I have studied your history," Kravith continued. "Your wars, your violence. You are a primitive species, but you are effective. We will make use of that." The training was brutal. It was designed to break human soldiers and rebuild them as servants of the Dominion. Many quit in the first week. They could not handle the physical pain or the mental pressure. Danny did not quit. He watched. He learned. He waited. He discovered that the Kelthari were not as united as they seemed. There were groups fighting for power within the Dominion. There were other species who hated being ruled by the Kelthari. There were cracks in the empire that most people could not see, but Danny could see them. He had spent years in places where survival meant reading the signs that others missed. Afghanistan had taught him that no empire was as strong as it looked. Iraq had taught him that conquered people never truly gave up. He started making contacts. Quiet talks with other soldiers who shared his doubts. Careful questions about Kelthari technology. Small tests of alien security systems. Nothing big. Nothing that could be traced to him. Just preparation. Maria Santos was transferred to his unit after 2 months. She had changed since he last saw her. The young woman was gone, replaced by someone harder and sharper. "I have been thinking about what you said," she told him one night when they were alone. "About adapting and overcoming. I want to help." Danny studied her face for a long time. He had been careful about who he trusted. The Kelthari had spies everywhere. But he saw something in Maria's eyes that he recognized. The same cold determination he saw in his own mirror every morning. "There's a group," he said finally. "We call ourselves the Prometheus Network. We are building something. A resistance. When the time comes, we are going to show the Kelthari what humanity is really made of." Maria nodded. "I am in." They shook hands. It was a simple gesture, human to human, but it meant everything. They were making a promise that would eventually change history, but that was still far away. For now, there was only waiting, planning, getting ready for the storm that was coming. The Kelthari thought they had conquered Earth. They thought humans would just accept their chains and work quietly forever. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Danny Cole looked up at the stars that night. Somewhere out there, the Kelthari dominion spread across hundreds of worlds. It seemed impossible to fight. It seemed crazy to even try. But Danny had never been good at accepting the impossible. He had never been good at giving up, and he was not about to start now. The spark came 6 months later, on a frozen moon called Europa. Europa Station was a mining colony far from Earth. 2,000 human workers lived there, digging rare minerals from under the ice. The Kelthari needed these minerals for their ships and weapons. The humans worked in terrible conditions, always cold, always tired, always watched by alien guards. Danny learned about the uprising through a secret message. A mining foreman named Victor Ruiz had refused to send his workers into a dangerous tunnel. The Kelthari overseer had ordered him beaten. Victor had fought back. Within hours, the whole station was in revolt. The workers attacked their alien masters with whatever they could find. Mining tools became weapons. The small Kelthari garrison was overwhelmed. For the first time since the treaty was signed, humans had successfully fought back, but Danny knew it would not last. The Kelthari would send warships. They would make Europa an example of what happened to rebels. Unless someone helped. He brought the news to Colonel Reyes. She was at a secret base now, running the Prometheus network from the shadows. "We are not ready," she said, studying the reports. "We do not have enough people or ships. If we move now, we will be destroyed." "If we do not move now, Europa dies," Danny replied. "And everyone who ever thought about fighting will learn that resistance is pointless." Reyes was quiet for a long time. Outside her window, alien transport ships crossed the sky. A constant reminder that Earth was occupied. "What do you want to do?" she asked. Danny explained his plan. It was risky and depended on luck and timing. But it was also bold, the kind of thing the Kelthari would never expect. "We cannot hold Europa against their fleet," he said. "But we can get our people out before the aliens arrive. We can save them and show the galaxy that humans do not abandon each other." "How?" "The Kelthari control all the ships." Danny smiled. "Not all of them. We have been busy." The Prometheus network had been doing more than just recruiting. They had secretly acquired 3 transport ships that were supposed to be scrapped. They had trained pilots on alien navigation systems. They had stolen access codes from careless Kelthari officers. It was not much of a fleet, but it was enough for a rescue. The mission launched 2 days later, just hours before the Kelthari punishment fleet was scheduled to arrive. Danny commanded the lead ship with a crew of 60 volunteers. They all knew they might not come back. Maria Santos was his second in command now. She sat beside him on the bridge, watching the sensors for any sign of enemy patrols. "Kelthari ships at long range," she reported. "They have not seen us yet." Danny nodded. The transports were running with almost no power, hiding in the shadow of Jupiter. It was a smuggling trick, now being used for rebellion. "Keep us hidden as long as possible," he ordered. "We need to reach Europa before they know we are here." The approach took 4 tense hours. Every second could bring discovery. But luck was with them. The Kelthari were focused on Europa, preparing their attack. They never thought to look behind them. Europa Station was in chaos when they arrived. The workers had built barricades and prepared to fight to the death. When the transport ships appeared on their screens, there was a moment of silence. Then cheering echoed through the frozen halls. Victor Ruiz met them at the airlock. He was a big man with a bruised face and a broken arm in a sling. But his eyes were alive with hope I do not know who you are, he said, gripping Danny's hand. But thank God you came. We are the beginning, Danny replied. Now let us get your people out of here. The evacuation was a nightmare. 2,000 people had to fit on the ships built for a few hundred. There was almost no time. Danny organized everything, loading refugees, helping the wounded, taking anything useful from the station. They were still loading when the Kelthari fleet arrived. 12 warships, Maria reported. Her voice was tight. They have surrounded the moon. We are trapped. Danny looked at the tactical display. The Kelthari had them boxed in completely. One order and they would all die. But the aliens did not fire. Instead, Commander Vorath's voice came through the speakers. Human vessels, this is Commander Vorath. You are breaking Dominion law. Shut down your engines and prepare to be captured. Any resistance will result in your destruction. Danny looked at his crew. He saw fear in their eyes, but also courage. They had known this might happen. They had come anyway. Open a channel, he said. Maria hesitated, then did as he asked. Danny spoke. Commander Vorath. This is Staff Sergeant Danny Cole. You might remember me. I am the one who would not bow. There was a long silence. When Vorath spoke again, his voice was ice cold. I remember you, human. I warned you what would happen. Now you will learn. Maybe, Danny replied. But I do not think so. You see, I have been studying your people for a long time. I have learned things about your weapons and your politics. And I have learned something else too. What? Danny smiled into the microphone. I have learned that you are afraid. The Kelthari fear nothing. Then why have you not fired? You have us completely outgunned. You could destroy us in seconds. But you have not. Because you know that if you do, you will have to explain how 3 human ships made it here without being detected. You will have to explain how primitives organized a rescue mission right under your nose. The silence lasted longer this time. Danny could almost hear Vorath thinking, trying to find a way out. You think you are clever, Vorath said finally. But this changes nothing. The Dominion will hunt you down. Every human who helped this rebellion will be found and punished. Maybe, Danny said. But today, we are flying out of here with 2,000 free people. Today, the galaxy learns that humanity does not break. He cut the communication. Then he turned to Maria. Full power. Get us out of here. But the fleet will not fire. Vorath cannot risk looking weak. He will let us go and make up some story about being merciful. Trust me, Maria gave the orders. The transport ships came alive and flew straight toward the Kelthari line. The alien warships did not fire. They watched in silence as the human vessels passed between them and headed toward Earth. On his flagship, Commander Vorath stood in a window and felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear. The humans had defied him. They had rescued their people right in front of his fleet. And there was nothing he could do about it without looking like a fool. This was just the beginning. He could feel it. Something had changed today. Something that could not be undone. And somewhere on the lead transport, Danny Cole looked at the stars and smiled. The Europa rescue changed everything. Words spread across Earth and beyond. Whispers passed from person to person, station to station. Humans had defied the Kelthari and won. The mighty Dominion had been embarrassed by a handful of rebels. The Prometheus network grew overnight. Thousands volunteered to join. Millions more began to wonder if surrender was really the only choice. The Kelthari tried to crush the rebellion with fear. They arrested suspected rebels. They increased surveillance everywhere. They executed prisoners in public to frighten the population. It did not work. Danny was promoted to lieutenant and given command of a special operations unit. On paper, they were a rapid response team for emergencies. In reality, they were the sharp edge of human resistance. striking Kelthari weak points and vanishing before anyone could respond. Their base was a converted mining station in the asteroid belt, hidden among millions of rocks. It was cold and cramped and always short on supplies. But it was free. The last truly free human territory in the solar system. Colonel Reyes arrived 3 months after Europa. She had escaped Earth when the Kelthari started closing in on resistance leaders. She looked thinner and older, but her eyes were still sharp. "We have a problem," she said. "The Kelthari are bringing a battle fleet from their home territory. Hundreds of warships. They are done playing games." Danny had expected this. The raids and rescues had embarrassed the Dominion too many times. The aliens had decided that crushing humanity was worth the cost. How long do we have? 6 weeks. Maybe less. When that fleet arrives, they will search every rock in the solar system until they find us. Danny studied the intelligence reports. The Kelthari fleet was massive, capable of destroying Earth itself. The Prometheus network had about a dozen armed ships, most of them converted civilian vessels. In a straight fight, they would be wiped out. But Danny had never fought straight fights. "We need allies," he said. "The Kelthari have enemies. We need to find them." Reyes nodded. "There is a species called the Vorn. They were conquered 300 years ago. They have been waiting for a chance to break free. What do they want from us? Proof that we are serious. They have seen too many species talk about resistance and then fall apart at the first sign of trouble." Danny thought about the Europa evacuation. He thought about the friends who had died in the raids since then. He thought about everything humanity had sacrificed. Tell them we are serious. And tell them we are coming. The first contact with the Vorn happened through secret messages sent across space. The Vorn were careful, testing humanity with questions and challenges. Danny answered honestly. "We are not heroes," he told their representative, a scarred warrior named Korthuk. "We are not fighting to free the galaxy. We are fighting because someone put their boot on our neck and we refuse to accept it. But if you want people who will not quit, who will keep fighting when everything looks hopeless, then we are what you need." Korthuk studied him with eyes like an insect's. "The Kelthari said the same things about you that they said about us. That you are primitive and violent. What do you think now? I think the Kelthari were fools to underestimate you, just as they were fools to underestimate us." Korthuk extended a clawed hand. "The Vorn will fight beside you. Let us show the Dominion what happens when they push peaceful peoples too far." The alliance was made official at a secret meeting on a dead moon. Representatives from 12 different species gathered there. All of them were subjects of the Kelthari Dominion. All of them were tired of being slaves. They did not all trust each other. They did not all like each other. But they all hated the Kelthari, and that was enough. Danny spoke to the assembly. He was not a politician. He was a Marine, trained to fight, not to give speeches. But sometimes words were weapons too. "I am not going to promise victory," he said. "I am not going to tell you that freedom is guaranteed or that the cost will not be terrible. The Kelthari are powerful. They have weapons we can barely understand. They have been building their empire for thousands of years." He paused, looking at all the alien faces watching him. "But every empire falls eventually. Every tyrant meets their match. The Kelthari think they are unbeatable, but they are not. I have seen the fear in their eyes. They are afraid of what happens when the species they conquered stop being afraid of them. What does happen?" Someone called out. Danny smiled. The same smile he had given Vorath on that first day. "What happens is us. What happens is that all the violence and stubbornness and refusal to quit that made us dangerous to each other gets pointed at them. What happens is they learn what it means to fight people who would rather die than surrender." The room was silent. Then Korthuk stood up, his huge body casting shadows across the cave. "The Vorn stand with humanity," he declared. One by one, the other representatives stood. Some spoke words of support. Others just nodded. By the end, every species in the room had committed to the fight. The Coalition of Free Peoples was born that day, in a cave on a dead moon. It was held together by nothing but shared hatred and desperate hope. It was not much of an alliance, but it was a start. Maria Santos found Danny after the meeting. She had been coordinating communications between the different species, learning their languages and customs. "Do you really think we can win?" she asked. Danny looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Kelthari battle fleet was coming. Hundreds of warships against their handful. The numbers said they had no chance. "I think we are going to fight," he said. "Whether we win or lose, the galaxy will know that humanity stood up, that we refuse to bow. Whatever happens next, that means something." Maria nodded slowly. "I never thought I would end up here, fighting aliens in space. When I joined the Marines, I just wanted to serve my country. You are serving something bigger now. You are serving everyone who ever wanted to be free." She smiled at that. It was a tired smile, worn down by months of war. But there was still hope in it. "So what do we do next, Lieutenant?" Danny turned toward the command center where the coalition leaders were planning their defense. "Now we get ready for the biggest fight of our lives." The Kelthari battle fleet arrived like a wall of death. Hundreds of warships filled the space around Earth, their weapons charged and ready. They had come with the full power of the Dominion behind them. They expected to find a broken resistance, scattered and weak. They found something else. The coalition fleet came out of hiding from all across the solar system. Dozens of ships from a dozen different species flew toward a single meeting point. It was not enough to match the Kelthari in firepower, but it was enough to show that humanity was not alone. Danny stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship. The ship had once belonged to the Kelthari, captured in a raid 6 weeks ago. Now it carried a crew from 5 different species, all working together against their common enemy. Maria Santos commanded the fighter squadrons. Victor Ruiz was leading boarding teams. Colonel Reyes was somewhere in the formation with the human ships. Commander Varath's voice came through the speakers. "This is your last chance, humans. Surrender now, and I will show mercy. Continue this foolishness, and I will turn your world to ashes." Danny looked at his crew. He saw fear, but also pride. They knew what they were fighting for. He opened the channel. "Commander Varath, I have a message for you, from humanity and from everyone else you have conquered. We are done being afraid. We are done bowing. And we are done letting you decide our future. Then you choose death, maybe, but we choose it free." Danny cut the communication and gave the order. The coalition fleet surged forward. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The coalition was outnumbered and outgunned, but they fought with a fury that shocked the Kelthari. Human pilots flew suicide missions that tore holes in enemy formations. Vorn warriors bore dead alien ships and fought hand-to-hand in the corridors. Species that had been slaves for centuries remembered how to fight. Danny commanded from the center, coordinating attacks that exploited every weakness he had found in months of studying the enemy. His knowledge was making a difference, but it was not enough. The Kelthari were too strong, too many. For every enemy ship destroyed, the coalition lost 3. The battle was becoming a slaughter. "We cannot hold," Maria reported. Her voice was strained. "We are losing too many ships." Danny looked at the tactical display. She was right. The coalition was falling apart. In another hour, it would be over, unless something changed. "Open a channel to all coalition forces," he said, "and connect me to the Kelthari flagship." Maria did as he asked. Danny took a breath and spoke. "Commander Varath, I have one more thing to say. Speak quickly, human. Your time is almost over." Danny smiled. You were right about us. Humans are violent. We are primitive. We do not know when to quit. But there is something else you forgot. We are adaptable. We learn. And we share. He turned to his communications officer. Send the package. Across the solar system, human transmitters began broadcasting a signal that had taken months to prepare. It contained everything the Prometheus network had learned about the Kelthari. Every weakness, every secret, every lie the Dominion had told its subject peoples. The message went out on every frequency, aimed at every world in the Empire. It was simple. The Kelthari are not unbeatable. They can be defeated. Rise up and fight. For a long moment, nothing happened. The battle continued. The coalition kept losing. Danny began to wonder if he had been wrong. Then the reports started coming in. Uprising on Vorn Prime. The capital is burning. Rebellion in the Kethany sector. Multiple worlds have declared independence. Slave revolt on Dominion mining colonies. Production has stopped. Mutiny aboard Kelthari ships. Conscript soldiers are turning on their masters. Vareth's voice came through the speakers again. For the first time, Danny heard real fear in it. What have you done? I told you, Danny replied. We are the beginning. Now you get to see what happens when the galaxy stops being afraid. The Kelthari fleet began to fall apart. Some ships withdrew to deal with the chaos spreading through the Empire. Others simply ran away. The perfect military machine that had conquered hundreds of worlds was breaking down. The battle was not won that day. The war would continue for years. But the myth of Kelthari power was shattered forever. Danny stood on the bridge and watched the enemy retreat. Around him, his crew was cheering, celebrating a victory they had never expected. Maria approached him, her face covered in tears and triumph. We did it, she said. We actually did it. Danny nodded, but his eyes were distant. He was thinking about all the battles still to come. The Kelthari Dominion was hurt, but not dead. The fight for freedom was just beginning. But for now, he let himself feel something he had almost forgotten. Hope. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, on 1,000 different worlds, billions of beings who had thought themselves alone were looking up and seeing that the darkness was not complete. The fire of rebellion was spreading. This is just the start, he said quietly. But it is a good start. Victor Ruiz joined them on the bridge, his arms still in a sling but his face showing a huge grin. The miners of Europa send their regards, he said. We always knew you would come through, Staff Sergeant. Or should I say, Lieutenant? Danny shook his hand. Just Danny is fine. We are all equals in this fight. Colonel Reyes' voice came over the communication system. Her ship had survived the battle, though barely. All coalition forces, this is Colonel Reyes. The Kelthari are retreating. I repeat, the enemy is retreating. Hold your positions and tend to the wounded. Today, we made history. Cheers erupted across the fleet. Species that had never met before were celebrating together, united by their victory over a common enemy. Danny thought about that first day when Voreth had told him to bow. The alien had been so confident, so certain that humans would fall in line, like everyone else. He had been wrong. Humans were stubborn, violent, primitive, all the things the Kelthari had said. But they were also brave and loyal and absolutely unwilling to give up, no matter how bad things got. That was the thing the Dominion had never understood. You could conquer human cities. You could destroy human armies. You could even kill millions of humans, but you could never make them bow. Danny Cole looked out at the stars one more time. The galaxy was changing. The old order was crumbling. And humanity, for better or worse, was at the center of it all. He did not know what the future would bring. More war, certainly. More death and sacrifice and pain. But also hope. Also freedom. Also, the chance to build something better than what came before. And that was worth fighting for. The Marine, who refused to bow, had started a revolution. Now it was up to all of them to finish it.